Oh, hey, welcome back. I was waiting for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that I know is on a lot of people's minds, and that is, what's on my iPhone? Software Engineer Edition. Now, some of you are going to say, real software engineers don't get iPhones. We get Android devices. And for the most part, I would agree with you. But I've had an iPhone for about 10 years. A few years before I even started software development. And I'm pretty much a prisoner to the Apple ecosystem now. But I did my master's thesis on Android security. And I can tell you that iOS is a lot more secure because of its restrictive nature. So the first thing we have is just the phone app, which honestly is really not that commonly used anymore. I mean, who calls people anymore anyways? But I've always had that on there, so I just keep it on there. Next, we have text messaging, obviously. We all text. We have Safari, which is what I use for my browser. And finally, we have Spotify, which if you go into Spotify, I actually do have a playlist where I put kind of just random songs that I'm listening to or coding to or gaming to. So if you guys would like, you guys can go ahead and follow that playlist. And there will probably be a number of shameless plugs throughout this video, but just warning you guys. So first up, we have our calendar app, which I hardly use because I use Google Calendars. Next up, we have the weather app, which if you know me, you know that I hate cold weather. So if it's below like 60 degrees, I don't go outside. So this app lets me know whether or not I should be staying indoors all day. But it's okay, I can stay home and make videos for you guys. Next up, we have the clock, which is what I use for basically my alarm clock, as well as timer if I'm ever cooking something. Obviously, we have the camera app. You guys all know what that does. One tip, if you do have an iPhone, I always go into here and change this to 16:9 because it just gives you a wider field of view. In the next row, we have Google Maps, which is what I use because honestly, Apple Maps is terrible and no one should be using that app. We have YouTube, obviously. I think you guys are pretty familiar with YouTube. This is probably where the app that I spend the most time on. I really should have a screen time limit on there because I just spend way too much time on there. Like sometimes I'll go on YouTube to search something and then I'll see another video that I like. And then like an hour will pass, and then I realize that the thing that I went on YouTube for, I didn't even look up. So yeah, it's dangerous. Next up, we have Notes, which I actually do use a lot, just for kind of random things that I want to get done during the day. I use it a lot for my YouTube videos. So if we click on this one here, this is a YouTube video that I have coming up. So here's a little sneak peek for you guys. Next up, we have the App Store, which I really don't use. The apps that I download are usually things that I've heard from word of mouth, but I usually hardly go into that app and actually search to find apps. Next up, we have Calculator. We have Flickster, which I use a lot. I'm a big movie buff. Not as much anymore, but I do go in here just to see what movies are coming out, just to see what the Rotten Tomato ratings are. Next up, we have Sports. I know right now there are not any sports going on, but I do like to follow pretty much most sports. I'm a big basketball guy, soccer and football as well. Next up, we have Photos app. I use albums in here. Like sometimes I put in if I ever get a YouTube milestone, 7,000 subscribers, I like to take a screenshot just so I can look back and see when I hit those numbers. Next column, we have Yelp. Obviously, you guys know what Yelp is for. We have Mail here, which is that I use for my personal email, my work email, and email that I made back in 2004 that I just sent all my junk mail to. Next up, we have our messaging apps. I use Slack for work. I don't really use WhatsApp, but a lot of people, like cousins that I have overseas, use it, so I do have it on my phone for that. Zoom I don't use, but if I ever do want to Zoom bomb someone, I have that option. And then finally, we have Microsoft Teams, which we are using for work. And I actually surprisingly like Teams. It's very snappy, integrates well with Windows. So I'm definitely a fan. Next up, we have Apple Maps. I don't even know why that's still on there. I should probably just delete this app now. Just go ahead and just delete this thing. Just get it off my phone. Next up, we have SigAlert, which is what I use to check traffic. So I don't know, it's a very simple app. It's very easy to use. That's why I like it. And it's very accurate. All right, next up we have Uber McDuber and Lift Me Up. Obviously ride sharing apps that I use a lot. Airbnb, don't use it that often, but I just have it on there just in case. Transit is what I use to check when my bus is gonna be here. And then BART is for checking when the subway is gonna be here. So I use those a lot in my commute. All right, now the fun stuff, investing. I use Robinhood just as my general brokerage account for buying stocks. Charles Schwab is for my IRA account. Coinbase is for cryptocurrencies, which I kind of dabbled in a little bit in 2017 and definitely learned my lesson. So I'm done with cryptos. Yahoo Finance is for just checking on like documents of companies that I want to invest in. And then just the stock app on iPhones, and then another stock tracker app. Next up, we have banking. I have my credit card with Bank of America. I used to work for Bank of America, but I don't have my checking account there because, I mean, Bank of America their service is not very good. Wells Fargo is where my checking account is. I don't even know if I should be telling you guys this information, but please don't hack me. Next up, we have Venmo, Health Equity for my health savings account, and ADP for my work bankroll. Next up, we have Shop, Amazon. I probably do like 95% of my online shopping on Amazon. I use eBay sometimes. And then we have Prime Now, Groupon, and PayPal. Next up, we have Alice Shazam. This is what I use, if I'm in the car listening to the radio to a song I really like and I want to know the name, you just Shazam it, and yeah, basically usually works, tells you the title. So I love Shazam. Next up, we have the regular Apple Music app, and then finally the settings app. All right, and if we just trek along here, we have the FaceTime app. We have the Miscellaneous app, which is kind of just random apps that I didn't know where to put and I don't use that often, so I just threw them in here. So we have the normal mail app. We have Great Clips and Supercuts, which I used to use, but everything is closed now. And like, look what's going on here. Like, what is this? Like, come on. Next up, we have Contacts, Health, Park Mobile, which is a really cool app that you can use for parking. Park Mobile, we have a 23andMe, which let's just click into that because a lot of you guys were asking what my ethnicity is. So here you go. Basically Northern West Asian. And I'll just scroll down so you can see that. Next app is Gas Buddy, which is great for if you want to find cheap gas that's close to you. Finally, we have just all the regular Google apps that I use, Drive, Docs, Calendar, etc. Next up, we have Skyview, which is like probably the coolest app that I have. If we want to load that up, it basically shows like all the stars and planets that are nearby. So like if we go, let's see, let's try and find something. Usually they have planets on it. There we go. It's like right there. You can see that's the moon, like down there. Like, and it's pretty accurate too. Like, I love this app. Next up, we have IMDb. If someone's like, have you ever heard of this actor and you haven't heard of them, then you could just go to this app and look them up. So I use that quite a bit. Weather Channel as well. Games. There's this card game that I have, Backgammon and Twitch, which probably shouldn't be in this category, but yeah, I'm starting to stream on Twitch. So if you guys, check me out. All right, moving on to the next row, we have CNN. This is an app that I don't really use that much anymore. I try to avoid the news as much as possible just because it's mostly bad news. And ever since I've done that, I've just felt mentally a lot better. Next up, we have Travel. This is mostly for booking flights. Me, I'm always trying to find a good deal. So I use those apps for that. Next up, we have Music, SoundCloud, Sonos, Podcast. Genius is an app that I use so you can look up the lyrics of a song and you can click on a certain lyric and it shows you the meaning of that lyric. So this is a really cool app. And then we have Amazon Music. Finally, we have Amazon Go. If you've never been to an Amazon Go store, I highly recommend that you check it out because they're super cool. You just walk in, grab what you need and leave. There's no cashiers or anything like that, so super convenient. Next up, we have Education. So Udemy, Pluralsight, and Teachable. If I ever want to learn a subject, this has some great resources for that. Coffee, Starbucks, and Blue Bottle are my go-tos. And I use these apps to order ahead. I hate waiting in line, so I just bypass that by ordering it on the app. Next up, we have YouTube Studio. This is what I use to keep track of my analytics, my comments. It's very easy to just go in there and reply to a comment. So I use that for that. And then finally, we have ExpressVPN, which I use for obviously virtual private network. And basically it prevents your ISP, your internet service provider, to know what websites you're going to. So, use that how you will. Next up, we have just for tickets, I have StubHub, Vivid Seats, and Eventbrite. Next up, we have Blind. So this is a very good tool for software developers. Basically, it's like an anonymous forum where people post like salaries, people post cultures about their job that they're working in without worrying about repercussions from their employer. A lot of times it is just used so people could go brag about getting a 200,000K total compensation from Facebook, but there is useful information on there. Next up, we have Health, just my LA Fitness, 24-hour fitness, and Equinox apps. Next up, we have Glassdoor. This is where people, again, can post stuff about their employer. They can post salaries, and it's a pretty good resource for that. Coming down to the next row, we have Patreon, which I think I'm gonna delete my Patreon account because, I don't know, I just don't like asking people for money for no reason. So, I like to have provide some kind of service or value in order to get any type of monetary compensation. So I might delete my account there. Next up, Prime Video, I hardly use. MealPal is a really cool app where you can basically reserve a meal ahead of time at a restaurant, and then you just go there and it's already ready and you pick it up. And it's usually cheaper. It's only good though for if you live in a major city. Next up, we have Nike Run Club. I'm trying to do a mile a day challenge here. So this is a great way of keeping track of that. All right, so moving along, we have Bumble. You guys weren't supposed to see that, but yeah, if you don't know what Bumble is, then you can look it up. But yeah, I use Bumble, so ladies, if you're single. Next up, we have Adobe, which I have these apps for Photoshop, but I don't really like using the mobile version. I much prefer the desktop version. It just gives you a lot more control over what you're doing. My cloud is to connect to my Western Digital passport. And I have a lot of trouble with this. I don't know, Western Digital, I guess they just write buggy code. Always gonna find an opportunity to jab at my former employer. Keeper is what I use to store all my passwords. It allows you to create a very secure password, and you only need to know one password, and then it gives you access to all your other passwords. Social media, I have Reddit, which I hardly use, Meetup, which I hardly use, LinkedIn Jobs, which I don't really use. TikTok, which is probably the worst app ever, but it's also addicting as hell. So, I'm trying to get myself to delete it, but it's hard. And then finally I have LinkedIn, which, yeah, feel free to add me. Next up, we have ChickfilA. Love me some ChickfilA. Gotta have that app there. It's not even in a subcategory. It's just an app. It's a standalone app there. Food delivery, of course, if I'm feeling lazy. Medical for if I want to book a doctor's appointment. IG here, Instagram, IGTV. InSaver is for if I ever see a post that I really like and I want to save it and repost it. And then these other three apps are just for editing, stories, etc. Again, photo and video, these are also apps that I use to edit my photos. Fiverr is an app that you can use to get some kind of logo design. There are a lot of freelance artists on there, and you can get a logo or an animation for very cheap. Finally, we have Remote, which I use for my Apple TV, Craigslist, OBS camera. Tape a call is if you ever need to record a call. AdSense is for basically seeing how much I've made in ad revenue. Discord is what I use a lot. I have a Discord channel if you guys didn't know. So if you guys would like to talk with me more, definitely join that. Kindle is where I have my books. This is usually when I'm on my commute. I usually have these books. I'm currently reading the book Unscripted by MJ DeMarco. It is probably one of the best books I've ever read. Other books that I have on here are, I do have some technical books on here like Git, SQL Server, Android programming. And then we also have VIP Access, which is what I use for my VPN for work. Dolby I used to use for sound recording for my videos, but I wasn't crazy about it. Now I just go directly into my camera, which makes it just sounds a lot better. Finally, we have Excel. We have SAP Concur is what I use for my expenses. So for work, if I ever go travel anywhere and say I need to get an Uber to the airport, I would just expense it using this app. And then moving on here, we have lights. So this is our apps that I use for my lights here. It makes it super convenient. For example, if we want to, change one of the lights here, we can just go if we want to change that beam in the back, we just go like that and change it. We can, it's very cool. You can even customize how you want it to look. It's a very cool app. And then finally we have Stream Deck, which is very similar. So I can do stuff like make the bright lower or make it brighter, So kind of just, you know, just apps that I use for lighting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those are the apps that I use on my phone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If there are any apps that I didn't mention that you guys think that I would enjoy, let me know. But yeah, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Scoot your boot. Or should it here?